Or two. I'm here.
Or worse.
Okay.
Good evening. I hereby call the November 17th, 2020 reorganizational school board meeting to order. Let the record show we're meeting at the Outgoing Ohio Services Center, which is located at 3955 West Pensacola Street in Tallahassee, Florida. Please note that all 5 school board members are present this evening. Thank you for joining us. I am Superintendent Rocky Hanna, and pursuant to Section 1001.371 of Florida statutes, I will act as the chair of this board meeting for the first portion. First, I'd like to welcome our school board student member, Arsha Harris, proud Timberwolf from Lawton Childs High School, and ask her to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I could really put her on the spot and ask her to give us a thought for the day, which I'm sure she could, but I won't do that. Thank you, Arsha. So the next item on the agenda is the administration of oath for our re-elected school superintendent. So this is kind of awkward. So I'm pleased to have tonight Judge Nina Ashafani Richardson, Florida 2nd Judicial Court County Judge, and I've asked her to please honor me by swearing me in tonight. So Judge Richardson, thank you so much for being here.
It is such a pleasure to be here, Superintendent. So with that, I'm going to ask you to rise. And did you have family that you wanted to call up with you?
My wife, Christy.
Wonderful. Miss Christie. Okay, and if you would raise your right hand. Wonderful. And I'm going to administer the oath, and if you would repeat after me. I, James Patrick Hanna II,
James Patrick Hanna II,
do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of school superintendent on which I am now about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, Superintendent Hanna.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. My knees were not shaking nearly as much as they were 4 years ago, but yeah, thank you so much, Judge Richardson, for your friendship and for being here. It's quite an honor to have you. All right, next we would like to swear in our re-elected school board member, Miss Roseanne Wood. So again, Judge Richardson, if you would, please bring Miss Wood to the dais. I think she has, there you go.
I'd like to ask my family, my husband Peter Priest, my daughter Paula Priest, and her husband Christopher Gavel to join me.
Good evening, School Board Member Wood. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to wait till your family gets around. We want to be able, you can't hide. We don't want you to hide. Wonderful. If you would raise your right hand. I, Roseanne Wood, do solemnly swear.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of school board member on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations to you.
Congratulations, Board Member Wood.
Thank you.
And finally, last but certainly not least, also re-elected from the board is Ms. Dee Dee Rasmussen. We have with us tonight C. Allen Lawson, the Honorable Justice from the Florida Supreme Court, to administer the oath of office for Ms. Rasmussen. So thank you, Justice Lawson, for being with us. It's such an honor to have you here tonight and for being a part of this. So at this time, Ms. Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. At this time, I'd like to invite my longest-serving mentor, the Honorable Fran Carlton, who served in the Florida legislature for many years and was my first boss and continues to be my mentor today. And she also happens to be the mother-in-law of Justice Lawson, but I knew Justice Lawson before she did. And Mom, my mom, if you're on Zoom, now would be the time to turn your camera on.
There she is.
There she is.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
A mass malfunction.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
that I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of a school board member
the duties of a school board member
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
All right. Well, at this point, I'm going to ask Board Member Wood if you'd like to make some remarks or comments, and if there was any pictures you did not take, because there were some that I did not take that I'm going to take. So now's a chance to take some more pictures if you'd like to do that as
Should I
well.
take them now, or well,
You can take the pictures now and make your remarks.
I think we're good. We took a picture.
Okay. All right.
Well, just a few remarks. In the good old days, back in March of 2020, I had a campaign party to launch this second campaign for the 4 years. And we were reviewing, our accomplishments and our big goals. And 3 weeks later, we shut down schools. Spring break came and nobody came back. And we knew, when you take this job, you're going to have challenges, but I don't think any of us could foresee the sort of challenges we've had this year. And we spent the summer debating, how we were going to safely open schools. And I really, that working together to figure this out has been a real honor and privilege. So the main thing I want to say tonight is thank you. I especially want to thank you, Superintendent, for your leadership. It's been phenomenal. It's been difficult. You've had so many hard decisions to make, but you've made them well. And you've listened to others. You've listened to us as a board. You've listened to the community. You've listened to teachers. And I think in the end, you've made very wise decisions. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to thank of course, my fellow board members. We don't always agree, but we always care about what's best for kids. And I believe by the collaboration that we enjoy, we come to good decisions, working with you, working with your staff. So I also want to thank your staff, because they are just top-notch, every single one of them. They bring so much to the table and so much to the district. I want to thank our union leaders. They've been right there the whole time, trying to help us all figure this out, and I want to thank them. I want to thank our principals for their leadership. They've, since we closed spring break, they hit the ground running too. And we all figured out together, but especially you all, how to give out food, how to give out computers, how to teach digitally, so many things that we've never done before. How to have a drive-in graduation and make it fun for the kids. That was pretty phenomenal. I want to thank the community for their support, the parents, that those who could have kept their children home, which helped schools not be crowded, and for those who needed us and needed their children to go to school, we provided for them. So the support staff at the schools, the custodians, the bus drivers, the secretaries, everybody has pitched in. And what I'm saving for last, of course, is to thank the teachers. The teachers have, to use maybe an overused phrase, have really been the wind under our wings. They have kept this thing going, and they have, to their own personal fear, have worked through that fear, and they have done their duty and performed their mission, which is to help every child learn and be the best person they can be. So I just can't say enough of how much I want to thank the teachers. I've been in a school a while, and I know there's never a dull moment, and now we all just pray for a dull moment. But that's not the moment we're in. And this moment will pass. And I just really look forward to looking back on this time and recognizing what we did and the new strength that we've gained from that and the new skills that we've gained from this and the many blessings that we have gained from this. So I know we all have our priorities. We're pretty much in line on our priorities. We want better salaries. We want safety. We want better preschool and early intervention. We want more career and vocational development. We want good environmental practices. We want community partnerships. There's a lot of things that we have to look forward to work very hard toward. I also want to pledge tonight, for my part, is to really speak out to our state leaders. Our state leaders have a lot of control right now of what's going to happen next. And so I hope they will communicate with us and that we communicate with them and we talk about good policies. Especially, and you all know this is sort of a thing of mine, that we really help them understand how important learning is and that how test scores don't necessarily measure that learning, and how we have to put our focus on learning and supporting teachers as the foremost thing we do. We need to focus on quality teaching and not oversimplified school grades. So I promise as part of this board to speak up to that issue and go to the legislature, and whether they listen or not, at least we'll try. This job is my privilege and my duty, and I take it very seriously, and I promise everyone that I'll be working every day to try to make life better for our children, their families, our employees, and our entire community. So thank you all very much.
Congratulations. Madam Chair?
For just a few more minutes. I didn't prepare a great speech like Ms. Wood, but I'd like to thank everybody she thanked. And in all sincerity, when I think back over these last 4 years, I can't think beyond March. I don't even remember what we were doing 4 years ago. And at some point during this pandemic, when we came back into the meeting room and we were wearing masks, I had one mask and it didn't fit very well, and people on TV saw it and they sent me masks. So I now have a full supply. I'm grateful. But I say that to say, how far we've come and how much we've learned and where we are now, and not knowing exactly where we will be in a few months. I mean, I think the thing that we kept saying all during the height of the conversations was the only constant is change, and I think that continues to be true. And one of the things that I know is true about this school district and our teachers and our parents and our community and our board and our administrators who've worked so tirelessly to make this happen is that they have perfected the notion of pivoting and to be able to change on a dime and adjust course midstream. And it's been a huge privilege to be able to work with these professionals, the passionate parents that love and support our district, who are many of whom are professionals in their own right in different spaces, who've given their time to help with the task force and things that are in other areas of expertise that they were willing to share. And so in addition to the people that Ms. Wood listed, I would like to thank our healthcare professionals, the folks at TMH and at the health department and Capital Regional Medical Center and at the Department of Education and in the legislature, where they made accommodations for us as the best they could to help us find our way through this phase. I guess we would call it phase 1. I'm not sure. But, I think we're all just trying to do the best we can to meet our kids where they are, and recognizing that they too are suffering with the results of social isolation and depression sometimes, and struggling to keep up academically on a screen for hours at a time. And so everybody has sacrificed in one way or another, and I'm honored to be shoulder to shoulder with all of you who are in this together. And I'm honored to be able to continue to serve with my fellow board members. I'm very excited about passing the gavel to the heir apparent tonight. It's been a year, and it really has taken a toll, but we've done it together, and we will continue to do it together. And I'm just grateful for the vote of confidence that my constituents and all the people who helped on my campaign, they're too numerous to list tonight, so I won't take up your valuable time, but they know who they are, and I'm grateful. And so thank you for that. I do want to acknowledge my mom, who was on Zoom. She probably turned her camera off because I told her she had to put lipstick on. She's usually the one telling me to do that. She is actually my longest serving mentor, but my other mentor that was here earlier to help and hold my grandmother's Bible. And this Bible is probably well over 100 years old. And 4 years ago, my good friend, Judge Nina Ashkenafi Richardson, administered the oath, and my mom was here and able to be here, and I'm so grateful that she's healthy enough to be on Zoom but not here with us physically. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm standing on some pretty strong shoulders of women that I love and admire, including Nina and Fran, who was here earlier, and I'm grateful for them. And then one last token, if you'll allow me. This has been a year of many different challenges, but as the outgoing chair, I wouldn't have made it through this year without one staff member in particular. And I have come to adore this person, and I tease her with the most endearing term. Her last name is Coffee, but I call her Espresso because she's like a ball of energy. And she promised she likes that nickname. So I just have a little token of thanks for all the times that she met me to sign papers. Because, we'd have these Zoom meetings, and then the chair has to sign all the contracts. And so Espresso would meet me in the driveway, and I'd be still in my pajamas or my robe and in the middle of the street. We met on the street corners. We've met in parking lots. I don't know. We've been everywhere, and so this is just a token of my gratitude. And I want this district to know what a gem you have in this woman, because she looks out for the people of this district in ways you'll never know. And so, thank you.
That's sweet.
Good. Espresso, I like it.
I like it.
I start using that one. And first, let me say what an honor it is to serve as superintendent of schools and to be reelected. You know, as a product of our public schools and a lifelong resident, it really is an honor. And to work alongside of you guys it's just a dream come true. It's funny because we had the election on November 3rd, and I think I had a meeting in the morning of November 4th. Sharon, I don't know who to blame, you or Chris Petley. But when I walked into the office, there were two ladies walked up, and one lady said, well, okay, congratulations. Now you're going to run for a third term, right? And the other lady turned to her and said, I think that's like asking one of us if we're going to have another child right after we gave birth. But, you know, 4 years ago, I sat here, and I really had no idea what to expect. I had never run for political office. I had never done that before, and it was such a drain, emotionally, physically, in so many ways. And I remember sitting here, and I was scared to death. But you all helped see me through, and I can't tell you especially some of the more seasoned board members, and I'm not excluding Miss Maggie Lewis Butler either. I don't know that I necessarily anticipated this, that I would be the butt of political cartoons right after taking office. I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but the whole Ace Pace thing, about 2 months after my election, and it says, sorry, Rocky, the board sets the pace. And I remember going home, and because those were some tough times that you all had to endure with me. Now when we go to visit, Chris will tell you, we're rock stars. I mean, it was absolutely the right thing to do. Maybe the way we went about it could be questioned, but at the end, it turned out exactly like I had hoped. And I'm sorry I put you guys through that, but it was a huge learning experience for me as well. And one of the nights I came home, and unfortunately, when I walk off of this dais, sometimes I can't leave it all here. It goes home with me.
We understand.
And so Christy, one night, she reminded me, and she gave me a copy of a speech that Theodore Roosevelt gave on April 23rd, 1910. Mm-hmm. And it was originally called Citizenship in a Republic, and it become better known as The Man in the Arena. And I think I speak not only for me, but for all of us. And it was a time for Roosevelt. He railed against cynics who looked down at people who were trying to make the world a better place. And he said the poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer, a cynical habit of thought and speech, a readiness to criticize work in which the critic himself never tries to perform, an intellectual aloofness which will not accept contact with life's realities. All these are marks not of superiority, but of weakness. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. What they don't know about me is I'm not in that arena alone. Every person on the front row here tonight is in that arena with me, and the two behind them, and many others. But most importantly tonight, every person here is in that arena with me. And first to Christy, I love you. I will try to be a better superintendent and leave it here. My mother, Joan, has been in that arena with me for 56 years. Has been by my side. And when we talk about people having someone's back, it doesn't get any better than this. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything you've done to help me. I know if many years ago someone would have told her that her son would become superintendent of schools, she would have said, which one? Because surely, you don't mean Rocky, you must mean someone else. You sure it's not Ty? But she has been with me every single step of the way, and I have the best mother-in-law and father-in-law, and Ursula and Alvin. It's just, when we talk about grassroots campaign, no one will ever outwork us. My mother sat outside of early voting from dawn to dusk for over 2 weeks, and so did Pat Weaver and many others. And I would not be here today without you guys. And I love you dearly. So thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask my family to come up so we can take a picture of something I failed to do for the first time. Ursula, Alvin.
I didn't know Alvin in his suit over there.
He's growing up.
I tell you, look at you.
You want to take your masks off? You're all family. I mean, you see each other. You're all family.
Please, can we see some smiles?
That's what I mean. That's,
Please. Oh, that's awesome.
Gotta get a picture too.
And then finally, to Miss Rasmussen's point, it's hard really to remember what happened before March. But I know this, a lot of good things happened. A lot of good things happened. And we've done a lot of good work over the last 4 years, and I'm going to steal a line from Brother Darrell Jones. And I truly believe this, the best is yet to come, my friend. And I am honored to work side by side, and I cannot wait to see what wonderful things we will accomplish into the future. And our citizens and our community is counting on us. They're counting on us to provide strong leadership, to see our children safely and our employees safely through this pandemic. And I have no doubt in my mind we will deliver just that, strong leadership. And again, I'm proud to serve with you, and it's just an honor. So to the board members and to my family, God bless you, and thank you. I love you. Y'all are welcome to stay, but
You don't have to.
Whataburger double meat with cheese will be our victory meal, right? Our celebration. All right. The next item on the agenda is the election of the board chair for next year. I will now open the nominations for the office of board chair. Are there any nominations?
Yes, Mr. Superintendent.
Miss Striplin.
I'd like to recommend Miss Joy Bowen serve as the chair for the 2021 Leon County School Board.
So noted. Miss Bowen has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations, nominations for the office of chairman of the school board are closed. All in favor of Miss Georgia Joy Bowen, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Miss Bowen passes 4-0. So based on your votes, Miss Georgia Joy Bowen is elected to the office of chair by a unanimous vote. Congratulations, Miss Bowen.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the election of the board vice chair for next year. I will now open nominations for the office of board vice chairman. Are there any nominations?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Wood.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Darrell Jones.
Mr. Darrell Jones has been nominated for vice chair. Are there any further nominations? Hearing no further nominations, nominations for the office of vice chairman are now closed. All in favor of Darrell Jones serving as vice chairman for the next year, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear 4 votes for Darrell Jones to serve as vice chair. So based on your votes, board member Darrell Jones is elected to the office of vice chair by a unanimous vote. Congratulations, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Superintendent, I hate to interrupt, but you said 4 votes. Was there a vote against?
Just that he didn't
Did he vote for himself?
Did you?
You can.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry,
can.
5 votes.
Yes.
Yeah, I may need to correct the other one. Did you vote for yourself, Ms. Bowen?
Oh, yes, sir.
I would have voted for myself.
I did.
The first time you did. Thank you.
I did.
All right. The next is the election of a city commission liaison. I'll now open nominations for the office of city commission liaison. Are there any nominations, Ms. Bowen?
Yes, Mr. Superintendent, I nominate Gavel Strickland.
Ms. Striplin has been nominated for city commission liaison. Are there any further nominations? Nominations now closed. All in favor of Ms. Striplin, Ms. Alva Striplin, serving as board liaison of the city commission, please say so by stating aye.
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 Did you vote for yourself?
Yes.
All right. I hear 5 votes. So based on your votes, Ms. Alva Swafford Striplin is elected to be the city commission liaison by a unanimous vote. Congratulations, Mrs. Striplin. Next is the county commission liaison. Do I have any nominations for the county commission liaison for the next year?
Mr. Superintendent,
Madam, well, Ms. Rasmussen.
that works. I nominate Ms. Wood as the County Commission liaison for the school board.
Ms. Roseanne Wood has been nominated as the county commission liaison. Are there any further nominations? Hearing no further nominations, nominations are now closed. All in favor of Ms. Roseanne Wood serving as the county commission liaison, please state aye.
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 Vote for yourself?
Yes.
All right. I hear 5 votes. So based on your votes, Ms. Roseanne Wood is elected to be on the county commission liaison by a unanimous vote. Congratulations, Ms. Wood.
Okay.
Election of a member and an alternate to serve on the Florida School Board Association Legislative Committee as the FSBA Legislative Liaison. This is a reminder that Leon County School Board on October the 13th, election of a member and an alternate to serve on the School Board Association Legislative Committee. The school board meeting minutes from October 13th, 2020 reflect that school board member Darrell Jones was elected as SFBA Legislative Liaison, and board member Roseanne Wood was elected as the Legislative Liaison alternate. Mr. Jones and Ms. Wood, thank you for your continued service in this very important role. Especially you, Ms. Wood. Go get them.
Well,
All right.
Together, we'll really get it.
And next, I need to verify your board members' addresses and the district you serve and years remaining in current term. Miss Alva Swafford Striplin, 3607 Donegal Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32309. Residential Area 1, years remaining in term 2. Month and term, year term expires November 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Next, Miss Roseanne Wood, 2264 Grassroots Way, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311. Residential Area 2, years remaining in term 4. Month and year term expires November 2024. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Next, board member Darrell Jones, 324 Chastain Lane, Tallahassee, Florida, 32305. Residential Area 3, years remaining in term 2. Month and year term expires November 2022. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
That is correct.
Next, board member D.D. Rasmussen, 3743 Ravine Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32312. Residential Area 4, years remaining in term 4. Month and year term expires November 2024.
That's correct.
And finally, last but certainly not least, our newly elected chair, Miss Georgia M. Joy Bowen, 2505 Fritz Lane, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. Residential Area 5, years remaining in term 2. Month and year term expires November 2022. Is that correct, Miss Bowen?
That is correct.
Great. And then finally, we need to set time and place for regular meetings, which will serve as item 1.03. If you will refer to that item on the agenda, the staff is prepared, and I am recommending the schedule for the board meetings. I'm recommending that we continue our meetings on the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month, Is there a motion to adopt the proposed schedule as recommended?
So moved, Mr. Superintendent.
So moved by Mr. Jones,
Second.
second by Ms. Wood. All in favor of the proposed schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The proposed schedule is adopted by a vote of 5-0. This concludes the organizational part of the meeting. I will now turn the gavel over to our new chair, Ms. Georgia M. Joy Bowen. Now stand in recess.
All right. So we will rearrange our chairs. I guess that's what we'll do.
And reconvene.
Okay.
Doing well? How's your mom and dad?
All right. I gotta find me the stuff here.
Thank you.
Don't need that.
On.
Like those shoes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's sweet.
I think we slide down.
I have to go down. I get to go to the
Wait,
Oh my goodness. Oh, come on.
Is this your card, Mom?
okay, guys, just make sure we're not talking.
Yes, I have so much stuff. It is.
Oh, okay.
I'll get it. Oh, see, I'm dropping.
That's very pretty in there, Mom.
You got it? Look at you. Yeah, we dressed up. Oh, look at you. You're so kind, sir.
Did you leave this down there for me?
All right, let me see. What do I need here? I need, with 2 creams. Okay, is this yours, Miss Rasmussen? I think that's Dee Dee's. Okay, Mr. Jones, do you have the changes and additions that you'll be reading, please? Well, if you don't, here they are.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Take those. Thank you.
that's your job now. Yes.
He's going to, before you call us back from this,
Huh?
he's going,
I'm sorry?
he's going to call Miss Rasmussen.
Okay. We gotta let Dara come back.
I'm just gonna kick my feet up. Yeehaw. Oops. I'm not doing that.
Okay, you need to go? No, wait.
So how am I going to interrupt?
I would be very careful. It's not actionable. It's not actionable.
We've been doing this for years. You've never seen it.
I don't know that I noticed at the jump.
There's so many of you.
Chairs are ready. Okay.
We can,
It's
legal counsel.
not about legal, it's about do we want to have to explain what happened
Thanks.
on camera, but that we don't have a record of.
For next year, so that way. Here's the script that we were just going.
Now leave it over there.
What's that? I don't know. No. My chair is low.
We want you to be comfortable. Rearrange your seating. Okay. You're almost ready?
Waiting on this one.
We'll wait on this she comes back, we will continue. Convene in just a moment.
Sit on the booster seat.
That's one. Okay. And now I think we are ready to reconvene this meeting. So I believe, Mr. Superintendent, you had a couple of things you wanted to say?
Yes, Madam Chair. So we are officially reconvened now.
Well,
And there you go.
we are now.
Great. So if you don't mind, the first order of business, I think we would like to present our outgoing chair with a plaque and some beautiful flowers. So if you all would join me up front.
And so we should.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. There we go. Espresso has got it.
Somebody's got to come over here. No, not you, Daryl.
One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three. All hands on the down by the side. How about that? That gives us
Okay, I get 3 more.
one, two.
Huh? Come on, Archie. Yes. Balance things out. Perfect.
One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three.
You get the front half. Hopefully, Miss Bowen gets the last half. Like, let's just hope this is the end of it.
I outdid myself.
You did, didn't you? Oh, really? Oh, you did that? Oh, in red and white. I must have a picture. Where is Chris? Okay.
It's not here.
Thank you. I'll just stand right here. Okay? Wait a minute. Let me get the stand now.
Aww.
Oh, I love it.
They're like color coordinated with your mask, literally.
Okay.
It's like the mask and the flowers went
You can
together.
tell she's smiling. It's the quick of the neck or something.
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
now that's nice.
That is nice.
Yes, it is. Mr. Jones, I hear you, sir. Yes, sir?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes. we
with
are-
your indulgence,
Of course.
I would, like everyone else has said, it's kind of hard to remember our activity before March. However, I must acknowledge what has been the exemplary leadership of our immediate past chair, School Board Member Dee Dee Rasmussen.
Absolutely.
I am reminded of the story of Esther and Mordecai when her uncle told Esther that God had called her for such a time as this.
Yes.
Imagine having to lead your colleagues and work in cooperation with the finest superintendent in the state of Florida during a pandemic. Most of us were unaware, most of us were unprepared, and yet our leader and chair and our superintendent were able to help us to navigate what was an arduous set of circumstances, all the while evidencing courage in chaos. I just want to acknowledge her leadership as we prepare for what will be another stellar era under our dean, but it had been her experience as a 12-year member of this Leon County School District and to provide that type of leadership in the throes of her own reelection campaign. Ms. Bowen often reminds us that it is important that we document the history of the Leon County School District. And when that time does occur, when we take the time to put pen to paper to recant the history, illustrious history of this district, we will be reminded of the leadership of School Board Member Rasmussen and that of our superintendent, and history will say, job well done. Thank you for your leadership to the both of you for what has not been easy times, but it is not smooth seas that make good sailors. Thank you for your leadership and your service to our board. And I'm excited about, again, but the best is yet to come.
Yes, it is. I suspect that there might be others who just want to say thank you to Dee Dee. I'm not pushing, but you know how we are when it comes to being Team Leon. So feel included if at this moment you choose to say a word or two. Okay? All right. Dee Dee, I choose to say a word or two. When we were desperately trying to understand what was going on during those early days of that COVID outbreak, your experience in governmental operation was invaluable. You knew what you were doing, I believe. You held us steady as we made hard, difficult, and often painful decisions. I admire your leadership skills and look forward to us continuing to work together to make Leon County Schools better for all of its constituents and parts. So we're in this work together. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Very kind.
yes, yes. Okay, all right. Just before we move on to the next item, I do have a couple of things that I'd like to say as incoming chair, standing. I dare not try to stay standing in those shoes. I can't do that. But I do have some remarks, and I wrote them down so that perhaps I won't ramble as much as sometimes I'm known to ramble. And I see the smiles from the back there, but you know, you have to keep these things real. Thank you for choosing me to serve in this important position as your chairwoman. I'm honored by the trust you've placed in me and will depend on your support and advice throughout the coming year. I have great respect for each of you and know that each of us has a responsibility to represent the interests of our individual district. As your chair, I see it as my responsibility to be sensitive and responsive to the needs of each individual district and also find ways to match those needs to policies and services that serve the entire county. I know that we share the vision of having all students achieve at the highest level possible and ensuring that each child has what they need to be successful. In pursuing this vision, I am so grateful for the excellent example that Dee Dee Rasmussen has set. She has provided solid and reliable leadership as our chairwoman during this past year, especially having navigated the unprecedented challenge of our initial response to COVID pandemic. Dee Dee has shown skills and talent that I truly admire. I've been watching you. I also congratulate Roseanne Wood and our superintendent, Rocky Hanna, on being handily reelected this year. Along with Darrell Jones and Eva Strickland, the community has shown its trust in your leadership or in our leadership. Together, we make a great team that works constructively through our differences and unites behind our decisions once they are made. The ability to work well together has produced a record of excellence that we can be proud of, and it will help us as we meet the new existing challenges in the coming year. During my tenure as your chair, I will rely on you all to stay on top of your game and to pay attention, not only to the big things, but also to the smaller things that often make all the difference to our students. And there is no shortage of challenges. Events in the past several months have reminded us of some of the strengths and weaknesses in this county, in this country, and here in Leon County, using a strong spotlight on the response to the COVID pandemic and in the recognition of our diversity and the way we bridge our social and economic differences. As the COVID pandemic was first ramping up, it seemed to me that too often our public school system is wrongly characterized as being a huge bureaucracy that is unable to change and adapt. This characterization was again proved false in our response to the COVID pandemic. I am so proud of our district for being so fast, flexible, and innovative in response to the COVID crisis. In very short order, we completely revamped how we educate and serve our students and families. We did this against a state of national backdrop of fear, uncertainty, and confusion, not only in finding the best ways to respond to the pandemic, but also in when and how our response would and should be funded. While our district was responsible in its remarks, it wasn't perfect. There are still some problems and inequities that must be addressed. And as we face a new spike in the infections in this pandemic, some new problems may arise. We must encourage the DOE to extend its emergency order that guarantees FEFP funding stability and allows for remote learning during the pandemic. This emergency order is set to expire at the end of the year, but continuing the innovative learning model for the remaining of the 2020-21 school year and maintaining the state's commitment to full funding will allow us to provide direct instructions for all students. The State Board of Education may decide on extending the order at their next meeting, and I think that might be tomorrow. While we may agree that traditional face-to-face instruction is the best way to deliver instruction, we need to continue to accommodate the students, parents, and district personnel who may have good reasons for not returning to school during the pandemic. To do this, we must continue to work on existing challenges and consider additional strategies to improve our responses. I hope we will pay more attention to the need for health and mental health services for our students, families, and employees. The mental health needs of both students and staff have increased significantly during the pandemic. We all know people in our districts who are barely holding it together under the worries of food, work, and isolation that have added to the normal stresses of life. So I say, colleagues, we've got to pay attention. We also know children and families that have little or no access to regular health care beyond our school site nurses. So I hope we can look for opportunities to extend telehealth services that can monitor general physical and emotional wellness and advise students and their families to protect their health, especially during the upcoming holidays. We must pay attention as we look forward to the day when all of our students can safely return to brick and mortar schools. We know that we will need to hold on to all of our instructional and support personnel to serve them. We must pay attention until that day comes, as we can anticipate reductions in state funding. I hope that we will consider creating or expanding options that will accommodate the needs of our personnel and keep them employed and engaged in our school district. The focus should be on voluntary measures to retain our employees without conflicting with the existing contract provisions. We must pay attention to options which could include more opportunities for co-teaching, job sharing, and other full or part-time work that may be done remotely or at school sites. These options may be particularly useful in providing professional development, technical service, and mentoring to teachers to help them become more adept at providing direct instruction online. It could also make our parent support call center more of a two-way street with regular outreach to parents that provides instructional strategies, technical support, or more general check-ins that will help parents feel connected and capable in assisting their children to learn at home. We must pay attention. In recent months, we have witnessed our state and nation struggle with tragedies and insensitivity relating to our diversity and multiculturalism. Since much of my education and professional experience has focused on these issues, I hope that we will continue to expand our efforts to promote and celebrate diversity and to eliminate discrimination and sensitivity. I am proud that our district has taken the early steps to establish well-trained district and school-level advisory groups tasked with examining multicultural and diversity issues and developing recommendations for addressing them. We must pay attention. The creation of these advisory groups should be coupled with enhanced and ongoing multicultural and diversity training for all school personnel that is district-wide and top-down. The training also should be required for those who are members of the advisory groups and members of the Safe Schools Threat Assessment Teams, but are not fully employed by the school district, including our resource officers. We must pay attention. In addition, this would be an excellent opportunity, I think, to coordinate our efforts with the Leon County's newly established Children's Services Council and invite the council to join in our activity. Paying attention, our efforts to address multicultural and diversity issues should also pay careful attention to our progress in closing achievement gaps as we review the progress monitoring data that should be reported quarterly. At the same time, we need to balance that hard data with the knowledge that not all students are going to make an A, and that achievement is not always measured by test scores. We must pay attention. This is particularly true to me during this pandemic, when it is unlikely that student achievement and school district performance can be accurately measured and reflected by performance on statewide assessments. Under these circumstances, perhaps a better measure of our progress in closing the achievement gap is our progress in supporting the social, emotional, and economic needs of our students, and making sure that our teachers and support personnel have received the professional development and the tools they need to provide this support, especially online, and especially for children of color, English language learners, and students with disabilities. We must pay attention. One more way that we can celebrate and promote our diversity is through our curriculum, especially our civics, history, and social studies required and elective courses and related extracurricular activities. These subjects should emphasize our cultural history, how and why our Constitution and laws have changed over time, and the responsibility of citizens to be informed and engaged in our representative democracy throughout the year. We need to pay attention to how and what we deliver through instruction, textbook, and instructional material. I am humbled by your trust you placed in me as your chair. I welcome your suggestions and advice and will be counting on your help, so long as we pay attention to our vision of having all students achieve at the highest level possible and ensuring that each child has what they need to be successful. I know that together we can accomplish so much to benefit our students and our community, because we are Team Leon. I look forward to what we will do in the next year. Thank you. That was weak, but thanks anyway. Okay, now, I'm ready for the next item on agenda, which is item number 2, and I believe that's calling for the changes to the agenda. Am I right, Madam? Mr. Jones, would you please share that?
Our changes and additions, Madam Chair. The superintendent recommends approval of changes and additions to November 17th, 2020 school board meeting agenda as presented. Item 1, item 19.03. The superintendent recommends board approval for the submittal of the school district of Leon County's tentative 5-year facilities work plan for 2021 to the Florida Department of Education, Office of Educational Facilities of the DOE, replace documentation.
Is there a motion? You've heard the changes. Madam Woods?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Woods, second by Mr. Jones. Questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. And now we're on to item, where are we? Superintendent Spotlight?
We have no spotlight and no recognitions tonight, but we will have a number of recognitions at
Wonderful.
our next meeting.
All right, then. Persons to be heard. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We have persons to be heard.
Madam Chair, we have one speaker,
Yes,
April
ma'am.
Hanbury. If you please come to the podium, give us your full name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes. Yes, please.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm asking out of respect, okay?
Yes, please. Give us your full name and address, and then you'll
My
have 3
full
minutes.
name is April Hanbury. My address is 5810 North Monroe Street, Tallahassee, Florida, 32303. I'm a registered nurse with the state of Florida. My specialty is in critical care, okay, and emergency medicine. I've worked as a nurse in intensive care in several areas within the state of Florida. I come to you today. I thank you all for the privilege to be able to be here to speak. Okay, I am very passionate about education. I am a native from Tallahassee, Florida, and I have graduated, have gone to school here, and I have graduated from here. I am a native of Florida. I come to you today asking and imploring you to please lift the mask protocol.
What?
I'm asking you this because it is for the safety and well-being of our children. First and foremost, we must be speakers to those who cannot speak for themselves. Okay? Children cannot speak for themselves. We are their leadership. Okay? I come to you saying, remember safety first. We want to respect, protect, and learn as leaders. Okay? We do not want to lie about things just to sell something. Okay? We want to treat others how we want to be treated. Individuals have a right to be informed, and we have a responsibility to be safe. Masking is harmful. We must be accountable. For starters, let's do the math. When any child goes to public school with a mask covering their nose and their mouth, 5 days a week, they are wearing that mask anywhere between 5 to 6 hours a day, 25 to 30 hours a week. Masking increases the potential of developing carbon dioxide intoxication and poisoning, and respiratory acidosis. When you wear a mask, it creates a personal tent of a confined space and a grave potential for harm.
Time. Thank you for your comments. Madam Chair, there are no other speakers.
No other speakers. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your being here tonight. Thank you so very much. Okay, there are no other speakers?
No other speakers, Madam Chair.
All right, then we will move on to where I am. Title IX Advisory Council.
No report. The next item that is a report for this meeting is item 6.06.
6.06, the Audit Committee Quarterly Report.
Madam Chair, this time I'd ask Ms. Levitra Paul, the director of our internal auditing department, to come forward to do a presentation and introduce her audit committee members that will be presenting. So, Ms. Paul.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to have this opportunity before we have our presentation from Dr. Alan Blay, who will provide our quarterly report for the past two audit committee meetings that have been held over the past several months. But I first would like to take an opportunity to recognize Mr. Alan Stux. We have been waiting to provide this this recognition for several months, and we finally have an opportunity to do it tonight. So I'm so happy to be here on behalf of the entire audit committee. Our audit committee members are Dee Dee Rasmussen, who serves as our audit committee chair. We have Linda Nelson, who serves as our audit committee vice chair, Dr. Alan Blay, Jim Davis, Herb Bailey, Alan Stux, Pat Weaver, and Julie Leffers. So we would like to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Stux' service as audit committee chair. Mr. Stux has been on this audit committee since its inception in 2003. He served as audit committee chair from 2003 to 2019. So Mr. Stux has provided 16 years of dedicated service to this audit committee. And during that time, he was always committed, always knowledgeable. He wasn't afraid to ask the tough questions. And another great thing, he was always there. He never missed a meeting during that entire 16 years. So I am grateful for the benefit that Mr. Stux has provided to our audit committee, to the Office of Internal Auditing, and to the entire Leon County School District. So in recognition of his service, we are providing him with a plaque tonight. He already has the plaque in his possession, and he is on the call tonight and has asked to make a couple of comments after this presentation. But the plaque reads, Award of Recognition presented to Alan Stux, Audit Committee Chair, from 2003 to 2019, in honor of your leadership, dedication, and committed service to the Leon County School Board. Thank you for the valuable service you provided while serving as the chair of the Leon County School Board Audit Committee for 16 years. Your guidance and extensive knowledge base help the Audit Committee provide sound advice to the school board, Office of Internal Auditing, external auditors, and other district stakeholders. Again, Mr. Stux, we thank you so very much for your service. So if Mr. Stux would like to make comments, Dr. Blay, Alan Blay is here on behalf of the Audit Committee to provide the quarterly report. So if we could have Dr. Blay provide his quarterly report, and then if Mr. Stux would like to make comments, he is on the call as well. Dr. Blay?
Hi, thank you, Ms. Paul. I believe I am disabled and cannot start my video. That's what it says, but I am here. Ah, there we go. Now I've been asked to start my video. Excellent. So first of all, I would like to echo what Ms. Paul says. Mr. Stux is an amazing person, and I've just been thoroughly impressed with everything about him, his professionalism and his knowledge and everything that he has done for the school board and the audit committee. It's been very wonderful working with him on this, on the audit committee. Second thing, I want to apologize for where I am. I'm sitting in a car at a middle school track meet from Leon County, and I would like to thank the board and the superintendent for allowing the kids to be able to have their track meets, because it's wonderful for both the kids and for the parents. So what I'd like to do today is just talk a little bit about what our past two committee meetings have been. So we've had 2 meetings since the last presentation to the board. The first one was on September 18th and the second one was on October 16th. We held both of these meetings virtually. And the main topics of these meetings were our audits that this year are being provided by the Auditor General's office. So the Auditor General does these audits for us once every 3 years, and we have audits this year that are an IT audit, an operational audit. There's also an internal accounts audit, which has not been finished yet, and they do the financial audit for us this year also. So the first meeting on September 18th included the results of the IT audit, and there were 3 findings that they included in the report. The first one had to do with system-wide access privileges, and there was corrective action that was suggested, and it has been fully implemented by the school board to address all the concerns noted. And there's currently only 1 employee who has system-wide access to all the district IT systems. So that finding has been fixed. The second finding had to do with mobile device management, and this one, in my opinion, is going to take a little bit more time. And right now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, IT in the Leon County Schools Network really does not have time to be spending on this finding. And the Auditor General's office gave some recommendations about basically limiting or monitoring connection of personally owned and district-owned devices. And they've started implementation efforts to address the finding, but with all the things going on with the COVID pandemic, that it just has not been possible to completely resolve at this point. The third finding was confidential and had confidential findings, and these findings were not published in the report to minimize the potential for outside parties to be able to breach the network. And this is not uncommon in IT audits. This is very common for confidential findings not to be published. But the IT department has completely and fully implemented corrective actions to address this. We also were provided an update on the deliverables from the Office of Internal Auditing, including an annual internal accounts audit update, 3 technical assistance advisements, and the results of the annual warehouse inventory certification. Nothing really of note to the school board is necessary for me to talk about really here. So that was the first meeting. The second one was October 16th, 2020, and that had the results of the Auditor General's operational audit. And there were 2 findings in this one, and I know there are items that have been discussed before. The first finding was related to the procurement process and contracted services, and what the Auditor General's office recommended was inclusion of a more comprehensive review process for contracts, especially for contracts that are not competitively selected. The district has started this implementation process by conducting policy reviews and formalizing this process to include some additional forms that can be used to verify and document each step of the procurement process, and that should help tremendously on that. And the second finding had to do with the bus routing issues that were experienced at the beginning of last school year. And the Auditor General's office recommended, again, more detailed contract monitoring and management efforts and inclusion of some additional contract provisions. So the district has started documenting the process that will be used for all future contracts, including, again, some additional tools or forms that will help improve the effectiveness of the current contract management efforts. With regards to the other 2 external audits, the Auditor General's financial audit and the audit of the school internal accounting were currently underway at that point, and we'll be receiving reports on those later on. The other major item that we discussed at this meeting was the Office of Internal Audit that presented the results of their 2019-2020 annual work plan. We were, as an audit committee, we were extremely pleased with the performance of the Office of Internal Audit. And I'm very happy to report that all the items that were included on the 2019-2020 annual work plan were successfully completed by Ms. Paul's office. And that's wonderful that they were able to do this with everything else going on. And the Office of Internal Audit presented a draft work plan for the 2021 fiscal year. It was reviewed and discussed, and we were provided with an overview of the risk assessment process that they used to develop the work plan. So we discussed it, reviewed it, and voted to approve it. And it was included as an agenda item on the last school board meeting. So again, I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity to provide this overview of the activities of the audit committee meeting. Our next report to the board will be in the February meeting, and audit committee meetings are held 4 times per year. They're in July, October, January, and April, and our next meeting will be Friday, January 15th, 2021, and obviously it's a public meeting. Prior to the conclusion of my report, I know Ms. Paul said that Mr. Stux, we're honoring him today, and she wanted to pass it over to Mr. Stux if he would like to make any comments also. So I would like to do that, and thank you very much for allowing me to make this report.
Thank you. Mr. Stutz, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to be short. I would like to thank God for this night. And first, I want to also thank the Leon County School Board and Superintendent Hannah for the award of recognition as the audit chair for 16 years. Thank Dr. Bly and Ms. Paul for their kind words tonight. When we started the audit committee in 2003, it was like building an airplane already in the air and working to land it safely. But 16 years ago, Ms. Joy Bowen selected me to be a part of the Leon County School Board Audit Committee, and as my neighbor, it was hard to say no to her. So I say thank you, Ms. Bowen, for selecting me, and I find that this time as chair has been very rewarding, and congratulations on your appointment as chair of the board this year. I'd like to also thank Ms. Linda Nelson, who also served as the co-chair of the audit committee with me for those 16 years. Ms. Paul, I'd like to thank Ms. Paul for her outstanding leadership and time with the audit committee and me. And I'd like to also thank members of the audit committee, past and present, for their time and their work. And finally, I'd like to thank Superintendent Hannah for his vision and leadership in relocating the audit committee office and increasing the space and staff to allow them to do a better job in carrying out their mission. So I thank you for this award tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stutz. We appreciate you. Are there other comments from Dr. Blake and Ms. Paul? We thank you for this update and review. We're not cutting you off. Does that end the presentation?
It does for me.
It does. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your hard work. May I quickly say, board members, I suspect you may have some comments as well. I did, in fact, seek out the services of Mr. Stutz some few years ago. He really started out as my representative on the District Advisory Council. But, you know, when you find people in the community who want to work and will work, and they have those experiences that you know and knowledge that can be used, you just kind of find them and put them to work, and he's been doing that. And so he's an outstanding, I'm going to say, servant to this county, and we appreciate all you have done, my neighbor. And I know that you're pretending to be retired now, but for the course that you set in this audit committee, please know that you have my sincere, thoughtful thank you, and good job, well done.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, were you about
Yes.
to say something?
Congratulations to Mr. Stux, who is my friend and colleague, fellow church member. We are what we describe as line brothers. We were made stewards in the Bethel AME Church at the same time some 24 years ago, and I acknowledge him and his friendship and mentorship to me most personally and specifically. I do have questions about today's presentation.
Yes, sir.
Based upon what I don't know if this is a process matter or this is a executive decision. There was a report given regarding an audit, the IT audit, that I have not seen. I received in the mail the AG audit, the operational audit that had the findings that were cited by him. And then I see those same audit items as consent items. And I just would like to offer my 2 cents. I think all audit matters, because of what I know to be the segregation of duties relative to any audit. I think those audit issues, the corrective actions and all of that should come to us either as a part of our agenda or should be workshopped to us, because I see responses to audits as a part of our fiduciary responsibilities as members of the board. So I know that we populate a great number of things in our agendas for public discussion as well as on our agenda reviews, but on these matters relative to the audit, and I must admit, I have forgotten what Dr. Gale trained me on in terms of the organizational chart when I was first made, but I am certain that the internal audit function and somehow reports to the board and to the superintendent directly, and I just don't want, just in terms of process, to abdicate what is my responsibility in knowing what occurs relative to audits and what are those corrective actions, and I'd like them to be presented to me in a formal manner and not just consent. I remember I got it in the mail and I just assumed it was going to come back to me, and now I see that it's on consent. So that's my only thing. I understand we have some subsequent audits that will be coming to us. I just like for future reference, audits to be managed in that way, that they come to us, they are presented to us, the findings as well as any corrective action, regardless of the, in spite of time. I just want to see it. I would prefer to see it happen that way, so it doesn't fall in the cracks or I miss it. Okay?
All right. I certainly have no objections, and as I asked for, it may be time for a workshop to fully again review I'm going to call it the role of the audit committee. I think that could not hurt. It could help us to see where we are, policies, reporting, that kind of thing. That's what I hear you saying. Am I right, Mr. Jones? Are there further comments?
So just for clarifications, you're talking about future moving towards the financial audits and other audits that we'll report on, to put them on consideration and then have this report as an action item? Right. Okay. That's fine.
I noticed this in consent this time.
Right.
And I remember we got it in the mail. Ms. Coffey gave me the copy that came directly from the Department of Ed. So when I got it, I said, well, I know we'll ultimately explain what I've seen and what is, because that audit.
Well, I think that's what Dr. Blay did tonight with this evening in his report.
Right. Yeah.
Was explain, and I'm proud. I'm really proud of these. We've had really good audits for the last number of years now, and I'm just so thankful to you, Mr. Stucks, and you, Dr. Blay, because other than keeping people safe, job 2 is protecting the resources of this school district and accounting for the resources in the school district. So your mission is very critical into what we do day in and day out. So I'm very appreciative that you and your oversight and all that you've done to help us navigate this. But with the 3 findings from IT and the 2 findings with the operational, neither one of them were really a surprise. I think by bringing that staff attorney on that can look at these contracts, especially the larger contracts, to help give us guidance will help. And then you brought this forward too about procurement, competitive selection, and those types of things that we all want to see happen. So as we constantly review and look for ways to improve, but to your point, yes, we will absolutely move all audit issues into consideration and have a presentation, whether it's a report to be heard or something before that item is presented.
And may I quickly add that we continue to thank Ms. Paul and her office staff for the outstanding jobs that they do in helping us to meet our fiduciary responsibilities.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Superintendent. Thank you, Ms. Paul. Thank you, Mr. Blake. And thank you, Mr. Stutz. Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Are we ready to move now to the next item, which I believe is reopen school updates? Mr. Superintendent moves to the microphone.
So I'm going to have Dr. Cox come on and give a brief update of where we are from a health and safety standpoint, and then I'll talk a few minutes and we'll kind of open it up for questions. But other than that, I really don't have anything new to provide. So, Dr. Cox?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Superintendent, school board members. One question I'm getting lately is the news media is talking about the spike across the countries, specifically some parts of our country. And so I called over today and I got our latest data for the state of Florida and for Leon County. And let me just start with the state of Florida. So this is what we call the percent positivity for new cases in Florida residents. And what they do is they take the percent, the number of positive, and they divide it into the number of folks tested on that day, that particular day, and that's how they come up with the positivity rate. And we really haven't seen that spike in Florida. And they go back 2 days. So the last time this was done, that we have data for, was November the 15th. And it was a 7.95% positivity rate. And when I look, it went back for 2 weeks, and that floated most of the time 7.6, 8, 6.2, 8.3. So for the state of Florida, we haven't quite seen the spike that other parts of our country. So then now let's talk about our county, Leon County, not the school system, but the county as a whole. We're actually on that positivity rate, which is the number of folks tested on that particular day were the ones that came out positive based on a PCR test. We're at 3.63% 2 days ago. So that's, it's actually a pretty low rate there. There was a little spike in our district, in Leon County, North Florida area, a week after Halloween. So that was 9.96 on November the 8th. But it's steadily come down, and we're currently sitting with a 3.63% positivity. Another thing is that, as y'all know,
Dr. Cox?
Yes,
This is School Board Member Jones.
Hey.
I just heard Claudia Blackburn make the same presentation regarding our positivity rates at the Leon County Commission meeting.
Okay.
And I'm just, my concern is that I as we talk about the spikes, comparative to the rest of the nation, I'm concerned about us, the power of the words are what we describe relative to comparisons with other parts of the country, because here in our community, most specifically, with a mask mandate that is now, although unenforceable, has helped to keep rates down. The fact that our children and our teachers and our schools are doing that has been able to keep mortality and positivity rates down. And so I'm just concerned about how we couch this information with interpretation, because I would hate for us to lead our audience to believe that we should change what we're doing, or that we're no longer a community at risk when we are. That's my only, and that may just be my opinion. But as elected persons who are genuinely responsible for the health and safety of the populations entrusted to us, I'm just concerned about our narrative and the way we share our information.
Okay. I'm with you, and I hope we don't change anything, because what we're doing is working.
Yes.
To a couple of other stats, and I'm just reading them off stats page here, is that, as y'all know, as of the end of the first 9 weeks, we allow students that wanted to come back at brick and mortar, and those that wanted to could go DA. We went from 44% brick and mortar, we're up to 56% now for 18,806 students in brick and mortar. That ends up being, when we look at our total number of students reported to us, my office now, since the start of school, is 126. So that's a 0.006%, which is about 0.5% that have tested positive. We have about 76 total employees since we started school, August the 31st. And we currently have about 17 positive and about 16 positive currently sitting. So total of 126 students and 76 employees. And so that's our numbers as they sit. I presented to the LCTA this morning and took their, not this morning, at 5 o'clock, gave them all the data and took all their questions and everything. And I agree with you, Darryl. We want to keep on keeping on because things are pretty good in Leon County schools right now, but we want to stay that way.
Yes, sir.
Well, and to Dr. Cox's point, we're not letting our guard down. I can assure you that. But we are finding creative ways to keep our kids safe, but also get them back enjoying the things they enjoy, like the middle school track meet tonight, athletics. We had a really good meeting with the performing arts people 2 days ago to get performing arts going again after the winter holidays. With all of our drama kids and band and chorus, and all those directors were very excited, and the kids will be very excited to get those performances going again. But we continue to monitor, to Dr. Cox's point, every classroom at every school every day. And the numbers are the numbers. The numbers are what they are. And I know there are some people in social media, and I don't really pay attention to it. And those people, anybody out there, don't try to contact me through instant messenger, or I have 487-7147 or Hannah R at leonschools.net. But there are people out there in the social media world that said we're hiding numbers, we're not being transparent, and nothing is further from the truth. We work hand in hand with the Leon County Health Department every single day and monitor and contact trace and quarantine and all the things that we are supposed to be doing, and we've done from the beginning of the school year. And we're going to continue to do those things. We're in this for the long haul. You guys know as well as I do, there's maybe some promising news about a vaccine, but at the end of the day, what we're doing, to Dr. Cox's point, is working. We are keeping our children safe. We are keeping our employees safe. We have had people that have battled, that have gone through, like you, Mr. Jones, that have gone through COVID, that have battled COVID. I met with some people at your school today who were hospitalized at a time of COVID and were now covered and back to living a normal, healthy life. But by no means are we letting our guard down when it comes to protecting for the health and safety of our children and our employees.
Madam Chair, if
Ms. Triplin.
If I might ask a question before we lose Dr. Cox, I don't know if he's still on.
I'm here.
One of the things I did, and Alan, I think we talked about this briefly, was, is there any possibility in the near future that we see our kids not having to quarantine for 2 weeks if they're sent home because they were in contact with a person and then they are tested negative and there's a negative test within 3 or 4 days? Can they come back to the classroom? That is one of the concerns I've heard from parents.
So, as y'all know, the federal government sent several rapid tests, millions of them actually, around to the districts, and I've got boxes of them in my office. In our initial conversation, and we just had some initial conversation with it, we decided to stay just like we are, definitely through the first semester. And Superintendent can, help. You can speak up to this too, but we've talked about it. However, that doesn't totally rule out, in my opinion, down the road, if we want to look at our quarantine students and possibly test them. Now, I talked to the Department of Health about this, and they, right now with our employees, because they're essential employees, after 3 days of last contact, we give them a test, and if they're negative, they come back. The health department says if we go down that road, actually, it was Ryan Smith at the hospital. I also ran this by health department a little bit too. He said his recommendation would be is that with students, we go 7 days. If we want to go down this road, if it's something we want to look at after the break, come back from the break, that we would go at least 7 days after last contact, then give them the test, and then possibly bring them back. I think there's and I'm not adding narrative to this, but from my ear to the ground on this, there is a national push, there is a statewide push, because there's an awful lot of students in quarantine that aren't getting sick, and they're missing a lot. They're missing school, they're missing activities, they're missing, so right now, I think our decision was stay the course, but this would be something that we would definitely entertain with experts as we move forward.
Yeah, and we said from the beginning, to your point, that we were going to follow the advice of the people in the healthcare community and the science. And right now, and I've talked to Malcolm Thomas in Escambia County. He said the same frustration that 2 weeks is a long time for a child to be out of school. The good news is with devices, it makes it a little easier for our kids to remote in. I would love but if the health department would sign off on 7 days, 3 days, whatever it is. But to Dr. Cox's point, I don't see us doing anything between now and winter break. But after winter break, look at our numbers, and if the health department signs off on a change to that quarantine policy, I would be all for it. And I know our families would too. That was one of the big questions. Performing arts. Well, if the lead has to quarantine for 2 weeks, what happens to the performance? Well, same thing for the volleyball setter, the setter on the volleyball team, or the quarterback on the football team. They're out, and we're not the only ones facing it. Collegiate athletics are facing it. The NFL's facing it. Everybody's facing the same challenges, is trying to have life as normal as we possibly can while also protecting lives.
Trying to have life, period.
It's not so much the extracurricular. I think some of our parents are facing the challenge of, all right, home for 2 weeks, then back in school for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Then they were in the same circle of another kid, and then they were back at home for another 2 weeks. And even when the child had come home and tested. And so I remember when, we first came in to the boardroom, and it was if you traveled to, a high populated. So I think we need to remember things are constantly changing, and when is the time when we change with it? And I absolutely would say we've done such a great rate, and Alan had a great statistic that we're, I shared with my staff today the same thing. They were very concerned after watching the news. Are we closing down? Are we closing down? I'm like, guys, Leon County is not, I think we experienced our high several months ago, and now it's kind of floating northward. So we're very fortunate, but it's because we're doing things like the mask and and keeping our classrooms small. But to try to remain fluid with that if we can get our kids tested and get them back in the classroom so they can have that academic exposure, that would be.
Well, and I think there's a part. I think even the people at the health department, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, are really wishing we can just get back to normal flu protocol. If you're asymptomatic, then you're in school, And I think the people at the health department really are proponents of that, would like to have that happen, but they haven't acted. But once they do take action, then then we'll be right there with them. So we'll continue to monitor the advice of the CDC. Alan, and the health department. You have anything else?
No, that's just how we currently stand.
Okay. And update on devices. I met with Justin Williamson. Is Justin on this call? Okay, so we did Appalachia. I think we did Griffin. I was at Griffin. We did Griffin. We're moving around to our Title I schools as promised. We've engaged with a local moving company to help us with the charging stations, because that was slowing us down, because the charging stations for the elementary schools go into every classroom. And so we have a company now, a private company we contracted with today, that's going to help take those charging stations to all the classrooms, and then TIG will focus on devices. So it'll just help speed up the process. But things are going very, very well with our device deployment. Everybody, are we next? Who's next? It's like being at the ice cream truck. Who gets ice cream next? But we are making good on our promises, that we're starting one with our Title I schools and then circling back. And I feel now that we've hired this company, they feel confident they can get all the charging stations to all of our elementary schools before Thanksgiving, and we'll be a long way towards, maybe not be 100%, but we'll be a long way toward also having all of our devices at our sites as well. So,
that's great news. That is great.
Other than that, do you have any questions?
So you're fairly certain Thanksgiving, but by the end of November, perhaps all of this will be in place.
About device-wise? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Device-wise.
Yeah, we were hoping by next Wednesday.
Yeah, we get those.
But some of those charging stations, we're delivering them to every classroom. We aren't just dropping them off at the school, because as part of the warranty and the guarantee, they have to be the ones to deliver to each individual classroom. Once we take possession, then it's off of them. Anyway, this is going to just expedite the process.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Mr.
We have any other questions y'all can think of or things that you've heard. Or
Great news.
I had my superintendent's conversation with LCTA, with teachers, getting some feedback from them at the different levels and seeing how we can help look for solutions to ease some of the struggles that they're dealing with. So I welcome those conversations with Mr. Mazur and Ms. McAllister and people from the union. We had our first meeting several weeks ago, and we'll meet again regularly as we continue to look for innovative ways to become more efficient and more effective.
Okay. Good work. We are looking forward to the end of this soon. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Superintendent.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
Superintendent,
Cox.
and congratulations.
On getting it done. All right. I believe we're at items of consent. Is there a motion?
I move items of consent.
Moved by Jones, second by
Second.
Strickland. Questions?
Yes, I have a question regarding item 12.01. Mr. Superintendent, this is regarding the Comcast service agreement?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if there's a question regarding item 12, then we need to pull it from consent for discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Well, why can't he just answer my question?
Could we go
Because it
ahead?
can lead to
Could we go ahead
additional
and approve
questions.
consent, and then could you ask
Yeah.
it?
Let's, yeah, because we got the,
So
Yeah, there's no-
if it doesn't impact your vote, then you have a motion and a second.
all right, we have a motion in a second. You do.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? A question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposers? Nay.
So
Right,
this
now
is
there's a question.
This is a
Thank you.
we're upgrading our bandwidth up to 8, and Dale Joyner's going to kill me, 8 gigabytes of bandwidth. So we're getting 2 from.
And Mr. Superintendent, if you want to give me an answer in writing, you know this goes back to my continuing question regarding rural.
Oh, great.
So if you want to refer to the subject matter experts in this and just get me an answer back, I just want to know,
Yeah, this
will this
doesn't-
agreement provide us with the additional, as you described, bandwidth that I know our rural schools are clamoring for?
All right, Mr. Joyner, I hear you're on the call. You want to step up and say a few words about bandwidth, or Bill, you want to say a few words about bandwidth and what this is going to help us with?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we hear you.
Good evening. This increases our bandwidth to all schools. It's the bandwidth out to the internet. Currently, we're at 6 gigabyte. This increases it to 8 gigabyte, which is needed because of the increased use of technology due to the pandemic. So that's what this is covering. It's our pipe out. If you envision a water hose, it's a fat water hose that allows more stuff to go out and back and forth in the district through this pipe. And that's what this item is about.
Will that increase connectivity or the strength of connectivity, most specifically at the rural Title I schools, Woodville, Chairs, and my school, Fort Braden?
Yes. So we track the bandwidth in and out of schools, and I look specifically at Chairs, which run like 15% to 20% of their total bandwidth. We have no school coming even close to the bandwidth that's available to them. So that is not an issue for our schools.
Well, Mr. Superintendent, may I remind you of the conversations we had in the Title I committee, where teachers, and wasn't parents, not talking about parental access, but teachers who had that complaint. So maybe there's something.
So what I'll do is, how about this? How about when's our next meeting? December 8th? On December 7th, Bill, I'm going to have you and Dale come to address this issue, because sometimes you can have a one-off or a two-off, and so they can give a more technical definition of what they're seeing that's going on and whether they feel as though these are legitimate issues, and an issue's an issue, right? And if they don't have access, they don't have access. So they will be able to give a more detailed explanation. So Bill, if we could have you and Dale come on the 7th to talk a little bit more about bandwidth. One thing that we did not anticipate, and to Bill's point, I don't think we've stretched our bandwidth to its limits, and this is just planning ahead. We didn't plan for teachers Zooming kids that were physically in the class with the kids that were also at home. That's one thing we really didn't anticipate. So that is kind of pushing on the bandwidth issue. So it'd be like you all, although you're physically in class, you're Zooming in like the kids are at home. So it's one collective Zoom meeting. which is really created by our teachers, but it is going to stretch some of that capacity. But on December 8th, 7th, they'll give a full report on that. All right.
All right. Okay, clarity there for now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so now we're still under items of consent, I believe. We're at item 18.01, and that deals with the certification of applicants for pre-qualified.
Madam Chair. I move acceptance.
It would be all of 18.
It is all of 18.
The
I move
construction consent.
acceptance.
Second.
And I need to abstain.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I need to abstain in the abundance of caution to avoid any perception of real or perceived conflict due to my employment by Associated Builders and Contractors of North Florida. Thank you.
All right. With the exception of that abstention, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? It passes 4. Okay, now we're on item, I'm turning my page, 1802,
19.01.
19.01. We go all the way over to 01 is the...
So, Madam Chair, at this point, we would recess the
yes,
meeting
the
and then
meeting.
convene the annual meeting of the Leasing Corporation.
Yes, that's where we are. We are at the Leon County School Board Leasing Corporation.
Move approval.
Okay,
Okay.
we've got to
Have to
hold
do the agenda.
a...
So you have
A meeting.
recessed the meeting?
We have to recess our regular
Move the
meeting.
recess.
The meeting is recessed.
Thank you.
And now we are about to call to order the meeting of the Leon County School Board Leasing Corporation. All right? That meeting is now called to order. Is there any old business to come before this board?
No old business, Madam Chair.
Is there new business?
No new business,
Are
Madam Chair.
there persons to be heard?
No
None?
persons to be heard, Madam Chair.
So then we can adjourn that meeting. Do we need a motion to adjourn that meeting, Madam?
So moved.
That is moved by Mr. Jones, the second by Ms. Wood. Any questions?
Richard.
All in favor of this adjournment state aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. That meeting is adjourned. Now we reconvene our regular board meeting and move now to 19.2. All right. Planning and compensatory time. Is there a speaker?
Ms. McAllister, would you like to speak to item
Is there
19.02?
one?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, it's telling me I can't start my video, but you can hear me, correct?
We certainly can.
Okay, thank you all. Congratulations to the superintendent and our new school board chair. And thank you, immediate past school board chair, Dee Dee, for all of your service to Leon County Schools.
Thank you.
This item, this MOU specifically deals with the teachers as we finished up bargaining as it relates to expectations and working conditions for teachers during this unprecedented time of COVID-19. It specifically addresses opportunities for teachers to earn additional time as it relates to going above and beyond the traditional school day and being able to carry over that time possibly to the next school year if not used, as well as reviewing opportunities for professional development and how that time is utilized throughout the school year, making sure that we're supporting teachers professionally, but then also giving them enough space and time to make decisions on how to improve their working environments as we deal with COVID-19. We worked diligently together over several sessions, and we all came to an agreement that this would be the best way to honor teachers in the best way possible.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. McAllister.
Thank you.
For work. Okay. 19.03, 5-year facilities work plan. Mr. Albritton, I think that's you.
Good evening, Board Chair, Superintendent. Item 1903, Superintendent's recommends Board approval for the submittal of the School District of Leon County's tentative 5-year work facilities plan 2020-2021 to the Department of Education, Office of Educational Facilities.
I move acceptance.
It's been moved by Jones, second by, was that Ms. Wood? By Ms. Striplin. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers? Same. Thank you, Mr. Albritton.
Thank you for your previous
Yes.
explanation of this.
you.
So we've had a full workshop on this, just so the public knows.
Yes, and we did go into a lengthy discussion on yesterday about what this was about tonight. So we are informed. Thank you for the wonderful work. Okay, item 19 point, where am I next page? 04.
Item 1904 is Superintendent's recommendation for approval of Architectural Selection Committee recommendation of Clemens Rutherford and Associates, Inc. for RFQ 463-2021 Professional Architects Counseling Services for J. Michael Conley Elementary School, school-wide exterior plaster replacement project.
Move approval.
Moved by Ms. Woods, second by Ms. Striplin, Consulting Services. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor of this recommendation, state aye.
Aye.
Opposers, the same. Thank you again for your work, Mr. Albritton, on this particular item. Item 20 is information items, upcoming meetings. None. The Office of Internal Auditing Annual Work Plan Status Report. Did we have a date for that? That was discussion, but at this point, it's just here for some reason.
Information.
Yeah, that's information item.
Information item only. All right. The financial statement, 20.03.
Also information
The
item.
information as well. Reports from board liaisons. We have any reports? Y'all have been working hard, but nothing to report from the hard work right now. We talked about that earlier. Superintendent's comments.
You know, it's funny. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be very brief. I've got emotional recognizing my family that was here tonight, but I think you mentioned something about our staff, and I say our staff. They're amazing. Starting with my work wife here, who keeps me in line and on time.
Who gives you a Bible?
Sharon, I just can't thank you enough. Right. And I mean, to every single person, Dr. Gale, all the other assistant superintendents, Chief Hunkyard, there's too many to name. We have some amazing people doing some amazing work on behalf of our school system, and we are all very fortunate. I know I am, and we are just, you talk about the wind beneath our wings, they really are, and they care deeply for our mission, and I'm very appreciative to every single thing they do every day on behalf of our children. So to all of our faculty, staff, teachers, bus drivers, no matter what role you play, thank you for all that you do. And I know next week is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving will be a little different for all of us, but it is certainly a time for all of us to have a chance to reflect on things in our life we are thankful for. And I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Continuing concerns from board members? Hearing none.
Madam
New
Chair.
issues, Mr. Jones.
Madam Chair, school board members, in this current climate, I am concerned about our teachers. We have, with the leadership of our superintendent and his fiscal stewardship, coupled with the allocation that came to us from the state legislature, we were able to give them an increase in salary. Before I was a school board member, I was an affordable housing provider. And before my election to this board, I was also a member of the Planning Commission. And I think about the genius of this community where our superintendent, our school board chair, the county commission chair, the mayor, and the city manager and the county administrator all come together. I think that with our insistence and collaboration, I think we can incentivize development in this community that provides affordable housing options for our faculty. there are communities where they incentivize affordable housing and public planned unit developments, PUDs, across the country. I think we need to make that a priority for our community as well, that we would use a measurement that is appropriate, a standard measurement as found in other communities where we make housing affordable for first-time home buyers that include both teachers as well as emergency response people like firemen and police officers and EMTs. We remember there was a time when that was a middle-class salary. In our current climate, that is no longer quite the case. And if we can, as a community, show our heart, and we've now come to this now public discussion about what is essential workers. Here now we can incentivize affordable housing options being set aside in new housing developments, as well as responding to what we know is the dearth of affordable rental housing for those targeted populations. Imagine, had we had this conversation some 10 years ago, if 10% of this now Wilani development had been reserved for teachers, that they've provided housing options that were affordable for them, they too could enjoy the benefits that come through home ownership for them and their family, and through home ownership be able to create generational wealth. Well, I would like for us to harness what we know. Everybody appreciates teachers now because they've now had to assume that role. Well, we're adding additional monies to their paycheck, and I know that this superintendent is committed where possible to continuing to do that either on an annual or a semi-annual basis. That is something that we all share. But if we can use the heft of our authority in collaboration with that of the other electeds, we've now got a school board, or a teacher who's now on the Leon County Commission. If we were to harness that goodwill across all three jurisdictions, I think we could make that happen. And I'd like for you all to, if you agree, I'd love to start having those conversations, particularly in the context of that great meeting that you and now school board member Bowen will be a part of, seeing if we can make that happen and we make that a policy that we would share, that would be shared by all three jurisdictions. And I think it will be enormously impactful, and I know our teachers will appreciate it. Because at the present rate, a teacher can't fire a home in this market. And that's sad. And I think we can do something to remedy that in cooperation with other electeds. That's my new concern.
Good. It's a great concern. It's one worth sharing. I noticed there was a time in this county when sheriff's officers were allowed to move into communities in the neighborhood so that relationships could be formed. And just to have that sheriff's car next door, in some instances, helped to deter crime. And so to forge the kind of relationships that could be there, I'm certainly open for it. Are there other comments? It's something we'll look at. I hear no objections to that. All minds clear? Okay. Then we are adjourned. Thank you.